a unique opportunity for anime and manga fans. If you're a One Piece fan, I'm sure you'd love to draw your favorite characters. Now you can get 2 amazing books for free. The first book will teach you drawing techniques, and the second one will show you how to create art directly on your phone without even needing to draw. You'll be able to create stunning virtual artwork just like the one on your screen right now. Both books are completely free if you act fast and click the link in the description. Don't waste time. This is a one-of-a-kind opportunity. Hey there, pirates. Welcome aboard the Anime No Mi channel. Kizaru decided not to participate in the confrontation to become Fleet Admiral, and in this video, you will discover the real reason why. About the Matsib, the choice of Akainu as Fleet Admiral has always raised many questions, especially considering that the position was decided after a fierce battle between him and Aokiji, leaving Kizaru, the 3rd active admiral at the time, out of the picture. Despite his undeniable strength, Kizaru was never directly involved in the dispute for the role, which leads us to reflect on the reasons behind Akainu's absence in an earlier phase of this succession battle. After all, why didn't Akainu, with all his ambition and rigid vision of absolute justice, take a more aggressive stance in the initial fight for command before facing Kuzan directly? Perhaps the circumstances surrounding Sengoku's retirement and the subsequent events can shed some light on this question. Sengoku, until his retirement, was the Fleet Admiral, the supreme leader of the Marines. His influence within the organization was unquestionable, shaping its structure and direction during his tenure. In Chapter 593, when Sengoku announces his retirement, he also recommends Aokiji as his successor. This recommendation offers an important clue. Perhaps Sengoku saw in Kuzan someone more aligned with his own vision of justice and balance. At the same time, it suggests that Akainu might not have been Sengoku's first choice, perhaps due to the ruthless and often cruel style Sakazuki demonstrated. But if Sengoku had so much power and influence, why wasn't his recommendation enough to place Aokiji directly in the role? I think this is related to the internal politics of the Marines and the forces controlling the world government. The Gorosei, who oversee the entire governmental hierarchy, have their own interests and priorities. In Chapter 590, we see how the Gorosei discuss the world's direction after the events of Marineford, making it clear that they value strong leaders capable of maintaining order, even if it means adopting extreme methods. Perhaps to them, Akainu was the best representative of this harsh approach, while Kuzan and his lazy justice might have seemed too weak or complacent to face the new era of chaos. In this context, Akainu's absence in an initial political dispute for the Fleet Admiral position can be understood as a strategic choice. Perhaps he knew that the support of the Gorosei and other influential figures was already secured, making it unnecessary for him to engage in an open competition that could weaken his position. Resolving the matter in a duel with Aokiji might have been Akainu's way of consolidating his authority, showing that he not only had political backing, but also the strength required to lead the Marines. Another aspect to consider is the relationship between Akainu, Kizaru, and Aokiji. In Chapter 397, we see Kizaru and Aokiji interacting with Robin during the destruction of Ohara, while Akainu relentlessly pursues his absolute justice, destroying the refugee ship. This difference in approach reflects not only their personalities, but also their ambitions. Kizaru, with his relaxed and almost indifferent nature, seems uninterested in positions of power or leadership. His focus is on following orders and exercising authority without major complications. Perhaps that's why he didn't enter the dispute for the Fleet Admiral position, leaving Akainu and Aokiji to settle the matter between themselves. I believe Kizaru's personality is a crucial point here. In Chapter 511, when he confronts the supernovas in the Sabaody archipelago, his laid-back and even playful attitude contrasts with the seriousness expected of someone aspiring to the highest position in the Marines. This lack of political ambition may have been a determining factor in him not being considered a viable candidate to succeed Sengoku. Additionally, Kizaru seems comfortable in his position as an admiral without the need to take on additional responsibilities. On the other hand, the dispute between Akainu and Aokiji, shown in Chapter 650, was marked by an intense battle at Punk Hazard that lasted 10 days. This confrontation wasn't just a power struggle, but also an ideological clash between two visions of justice. While Akainu represented absolute justice, Aokiji followed a more compassionate and pragmatic approach. I think this battle was inevitable, regardless of Akainu's intentions or his absence in an earlier stage of the dispute for the Fleet Admiral position. In the end, the result consolidated Akainu's position, eliminating any doubts about his capability to lead. Another point that might explain Akainu's absence in a more political context is his personality. Akainu doesn't seem like someone who trusts behind-the-scenes maneuvering or political scheming. His approach is direct and often brutal, as we saw at Marineford. Perhaps he preferred to resolve the matter clearly and decisively, facing Aokiji in a duel that proved his superiority once and for all. In this sense, his absence in an initial dispute for the role could be seen as a deliberate choice to avoid intrigue and focus on what he does best, fighting. Furthermore, Furthermore, the role of the Gorosei in the world government cannot be ignored. I think they had much to gain from Akainu's rise to the position of Fleet Admiral. His vision of absolute justice aligns well with the world government's need to maintain order at any cost. This may have influenced the decision to keep Akainu out of an initial dispute, ensuring he had a political advantage even before facing Aokiji. In the end, his victory at Punk Hazard cemented this choice, proving that he was indeed the strongest and most suitable leader for the role. But how would he have fared in Akainu or Aokiji's place during the decisive confrontation at Punk Hazard? After all, the battle between these two admirals was not only a clash of strength, but also of ideologies. Akainu, with his relentless, absolute justice, faced Aokiji's lazy justice in a confrontation that defined the Marines' future direction. In this scenario, it's natural to wonder, what if Kizaru had participated? Would he have had a chance to prevail? And if he did, how would he lead the Marines? First, it is important to understand Kizaru's abilities and how they could impact a confrontation of this magnitude. In Chapter 501, we see Kizaru facing the supernovas on the Sabaody archipelago with impressive efficiency. His devil fruit, the Pika Pika no Mi, which grants him light-based speed and attacks, is one of the most destructive in the One Piece universe. His ability to move at the speed of light and fire devastating lasers makes him an incredibly difficult opponent to face. Additionally, Kizaru demonstrates an almost unshakable calm in battle, which could be both an advantage and a disadvantage in an extended fight like the one at Punk Hazard. However, the battle between Akainu and Aokiji was not just about raw power. It was also a clash of endurance, strategy, and conviction. In Chapter 650, it is revealed that their confrontation lasted 10 days, transforming Punk Hazard into a devastated land half covered in lava and the other half in ice. For Kizaru, whose demeanor often appears more relaxed and indifferent, maintaining the intensity and focus required for such a prolonged battle could be a challenge. While his devil fruit is incredibly powerful, there is no clear evidence that he possesses the same physical and mental stamina that Akainu and Aokiji displayed during their duel. I believe Kizaru could have an advantage in a shorter fight, where his speed and precise attacks could destabilize his opponents. However, in a prolonged battle, his lack of intensity and laid-back style could become a liability. Akainu and Aokiji fought for their deepest convictions, which gave them the determination to endure days of grueling combat. Kizaru, on the other hand, seems less motivated by ideals and more focused on following orders. This does not mean he is weak or incapable, but he may lack the passion necessary to prevail in a scenario like Punk Hazard. But suppose Kizaru somehow prevailed and became Fleet Admiral, how would he lead the Marines? His personality, as seen on several occasions, is characterized by a mix of sarcastic humor and apparent indifference. In Chapter 661, for example, when discussing the situation at Punk Hazard with other Marines, his approach is almost casual even in the face of serious events. This attitude might result in less aggressive and centralized leadership compared to Akainu's. I think Kizaru's leadership would be more reactive than proactive. He would likely focus on executing the world government's orders without implementing significant changes to the structure or directives of the Marines. This could provide a sense of stability, but might also lead to a lack of clear direction during times of crisis. For instance, during the events of Marineford, we saw how Akainu's decisive stance was critical, immobilizing the Marines against the Whitebeard pirates. Kizaru, with his more relaxed approach, might struggle to inspire the same level of commitment in his subordinates. Another aspect to consider is how Kizaru would handle the Marines' external relations. In Chapter 907, we see the admirals being summoned to protect the celestial dragons during the reverie. As Fleet Admiral, Akainu demonstrated a firm and often confrontational stance toward the world government, while Kizaru would likely take a more indifferent approach, following orders without question. This could strengthen the short-term relationship between the Marines and the world government, but might compromise the independence and credibility of the Marines as a force of justice. I think Kizaru's leadership would bring both advantages and disadvantages. On the one hand, his carefree nature could reduce internal tensions and avoid unnecessary conflicts. On the other hand, this same attitude might lead to the perception that the Marines lack direction and purpose. In a constantly changing world where threats like the Yonko and revolutionaries are ever present, a leader with a clear vision and the ability to make tough decisions is essential. In this sense, Kizaru might not be the ideal choice for the position of Fleet Admiral. That was today's content. We hope you liked it and want to share your opinion on the subject. Don't forget to share the video, give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care and stay amazing.